Hey, creative. Today's episode is really special to me. It's for you if you are feeling like you are in a moment of transition. I've been writing about this in my Substack and in other areas, and I thought I would go ahead and address it on the podcast. I'm talking here today about a particular framework you can use to think about who you're going to be on the other side of this transition period you might be feeling. I'm giving two specific ways that you can think about and address and articulate where you are, but also to have something to take away from this moment. Let's go. Welcome to the Vision Builders Podcast. This podcast is for creatives and academics who want to build and brand a writing life to multiply their talents for greater impact. If you're ready to capture your stories, amplify your voice, and monetize your style, you're in the right place. We are Vision Builders. Let's get into it. Okay, so for this episode of the podcast, I really want to talk about the one word that is kind of sitting in my spirit, and that one word is transitions. I just want to share with you just a framework that might help you to think about what these changes mean, what they can do, and how you can face them with a little bit of power and hope and healing so that our brains can calm down. So when you're in transition, it's this feeling that something is changing or something has changed. Sometimes it's a sudden thing. Sometimes it's a thing that happened over a period of time that you're now acknowledging. And so now what? That thing is happening and you're in this period that feels like you're not quite in the event itself, inside of the change itself. You're kind of not quite past the change. You haven't really figured out what's next and how to deal with it, whatever. It just feels like you're in the middle. You're in a gap. You're in a midpoint. And we call that a liminal space, right? We call it liminal because it is that in-between space. It's not solid. And it's definitely not someplace you just want to stay, right? Mostly because you don't know what's happening moment to moment when you're in a liminal space. It feels like you're occupying a space that is being permeated by the change part, the stuff that happened or is happening. It just feels like that's just coming through there and going out. You don't know how to feel sometimes. And sometimes you feel like you're out of on the other side of it, but you kind of feel like you slide back in. And it's like, it's emotional in all the good and or bad ways that you feel when things are not solid. And so one of the most important things, I think, is to articulate that, right? Like to actually acknowledge, this is where I am. I'm in a space that's liminal. I'm in a space that feels like it's a gap. It's in between what has happened and what's going to happen. It's a space in between, and I am not staying here, but I know that I'm supposed to do something in this space. I have to do something in this space if I'm going to make it to the other side. But the reality is, in this space, something gets decided about that change. Something gets decided, and is this going to be a crisis? Or is this going to be a space that becomes powerful for me? A space that becomes not just a liminal gap, but a space where I begin to decide who I need to be to get out of this space, but also who I need to be on the other side of this space. It's all about the next steps you want to take, right? It's all about the next steps. What am I going to do next? How do I get through this? That liminal space is where you will decide, am I in a state of crisis? Am I in a state where change has taken over my life in such a fundamental way and I can't see myself out of it, so that now I am in a state of crisis and everything is falling apart, so to speak. And that doesn't mean just like emotionally, but like it's impacting my life. It's impacting my relationships. It's impacting my ability to make a gainful living. It's impacting my ability to care about other people. Like, that's a crisis. Because this right here, this time period, this context that we're in, just in the world, but also the world, while the world's going on, our lives are also like, the trickle down is real. Chaos at the top, change at the top, however you want to characterize it, at the top of wherever you are seated, anything that's going on at the top, things roll downhill, right? Do not be surprised that when things are looking crazy at the top of the food chain, as it were, that things don't start moving in your own life, in the spaces that you occupy, because all of that, I would suggest, is spiritual. All of it is spiritual. And when stuff is happening way up here, that stuff is going to trickle down and start happening on the ground. So what I think we can do in this liminal space of transition, where change is happening, where we're in danger of facing it as a crisis, that we need to look to those things that people have done to usher themselves from one identity to another identity. Because a lot of times what's going on in this space is that we're trying to decide who we're going to be. We're trying to decide exactly who we need to be in order to survive this moment, right? And that's even if this moment is amazing and wonderful and powerful. And I'll give you an example. Rites of passage happen for things that are amazing and wonderful, and they also happen as, things that are challenging and really crisis oriented. You are familiar already with rites of passage if you have ever been to a public rite of passage, like a wedding or a funeral or a graduation or a baby shower or a bar mitzvah or a quinceañera or naming ceremony or anything like that. So to talk about rites of passage is really to talk about something that you already are familiar with, the public representation of. But let's get into the weeds a little bit about what I mean and how that relates to, this idea of us being in transition. So those types of rites that I just described are just like the rituals, the public rituals that represent the kind of rite of passage that happened in the background, right? So think about it. If you went to a wedding, that's not the moment those folks got married, right? Like that's not when it happened. It happened when they signed the documents, right? That's when that happened. At a graduation, the whole ceremonial thing that you see, that's not the moment that graduation happened. The moment the graduation happens that's all about the background. That's all about the courses that were completed. That's all about the work that was done up to that point. What you're seeing is the celebration, the public representation of the rite of passage, the actual experience that a person already went through. So you get to participate in that experience because guess what? That ritual that you're sitting in the stands to see, or in the pew, or in the chairs, and wherever you are, on whatever island with the linens blowing in the wind, and everybody waiting for this or that kiss or this or that, whatever to happen. That moment right there, that moment is the moment where those folks are exiting transition. That's the moment where those folks were in that liminal space and they are now making a public declaration of who they have become. So, what do I mean? When you walk across that stage, if you decide to, right? Because the graduation is happening with or without the stage, right? When you walk across that stage. You are declaring to yourself and to those who are in the audience and on that stage that you are acknowledging a new identity as someone who holds that degree and level of skill or program or whatever, right? The same thing goes for, a quinceañera, a bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, any of these types of markings where it's like, oh, it's a sweet 16, it's a birthday party. But what's really, really important about those really large cultural birthday parties like quinceañeras and bar mitzvahs is that they had a program behind that. Like there is an acknowledgement that happens that goes beyond them waking up on that day that is their birthday. There was a whole plan and program for that. There are certain things that happened prior to that event, right? There has been study. There has been acknowledgement, spiritual, social, etc. There has been planning. There have been family conversations. So when we say, they went through a process and they had a rite of passage, now we're talking about creating an identity that is different from the one they had. Now, you might think, why am I creating a new identity when the change happened to me or it felt like I made that change, et cetera, et cetera? Because the idea is you're growing into someone else. When something so fundamental changes in your life, you're now a caregiver. You are now a parent. You have had an incredible, deep-seated loss. You have transitioned into an entirely different, work situation. You have stepped out into an entirely different set of skills, etc. in the season. Whatever that change is or impact that has fundamentally altered how you operate and has caused positive or negative stress in your life where you feel like you're in a gap, you're in a liminal space, you're in a transition that is demanding something different from you emotionally, physically, psychologically. Baby, you are in a transition space that really needs an articulation and really probably needs you to grab hold of the rite of passage that you are experiencing. And here's how you might do that. What I think is the most productive way to address these moments. Because a rite of passage has several moments within it. One is a birth. That means something is born in you or something is born for you. You are birthing something. That's one moment in a rite of passage, right? You're going through. Another part of that cycle of a rite of passage is death. That death can be actual, that there is a death that you have experienced that actually is transforming your world. It can also be something that has just changed so drastically that it is just a loss or a distancing from something or someone or a part of yourself that is utterly transformative. And that is huge, and that is a part of a cycle, a rite of passage kind of cycle, a ritual cycle. And then there is also the transformation, the actual moment of transformation. And that, so if you picture a triangle, you have on each end of those triangles, you have birth, you have death, and you have transformation. And you can enter this ritual cycle at any point. But those are incredible moments of change in a life. And if you find yourself feeling like, wow, I mean, something amazing is changing for me right now. And that thing, I mean, I am becoming someone incredibly new. This is a lot going on, but it's positive stress. I'm growing something. I've changed something. I'm putting something out into the world. You are clearly in a cycle that has you in a birth cycle, right? You are emerging. Something is emerging from you. And the same thing goes for these other moments, right? If something is passing away from you or distant from you or has been, taken from you, you feel the strength of that moment. And that moment is just as powerful as a birth moment. And that other moment of transformation, when you feel like something has literally flipped for me. I am not that person. I am utterly different. That transformation moment is kind of that pinnacle moment where we're getting to. That moment where you have become something more, something different, something else. And so what it means is when you're operating and you're thinking about where you are in this state of transition as a rite of passage, you begin to articulate, where am I in this cycle? Where am I? Am I in a moment where I feel like it's a birth? Am I in a moment where it's a clear, death? Am I in a moment where I'm ready to transform? And this space, this liminal space, is where the planning happens. Because once you're able to articulate that, then you can begin to make decisions. Remember, I said that transition is a moment where decisions get made. Whether that's a birth moment or a death moment, decisions are getting made about who you want to be and what you want to do next. And so what you can do in this moment, because a lot of times we feel overwhelmed, we might feel powerless, we might feel confused. All of those things are valid, right? But what I've learned is that the agency that we do have, the power that we do have in this moment, is that we can decide who we want to be next. We can decide exactly who I need to be in order to face what is waiting for me in this season. And that I want to begin to shape who that person is. So right now, as you decide, or as you have said to yourself, oh, I'm definitely in this particular part of this moment, decide, write down, take a couple minutes, and even pause. So take a moment right now, just on a piece of paper, or if you're driving, just take a pause for a minute, just pause this message and think for a second about who you need to be in this season. What are the characteristics that you think you're going to need to carry with you in this season? Are you going to have a measure of fortitude? Are you going to have a hopefulness? Are you going to have to carry with you a new kind of diligence, a new kind of determination? Are you going to need more discipline? Are you going to need more focus? What are you going to need to carry with you in this moment as you transition out of this liminal space, as you exit this transition that you're in and move into your next season? And the other thing I want you to think about that's super important for how we manage like our emotions and our mindset and even our physical health, because stress will take your body through. But that other thing to think about is, what can I build? What can I create? What can I present to the world? Like, what is the public thing that I can do in order to mark this moment, in order to create something from this moment that is meaningful and that helps to acknowledge that I had a major change in my context, my situation, and I need a way to acknowledge that change and to build something beyond it. So I want you to pause and I want you to actually think about that. What can I create to acknowledge the birth of this thing, whatever this thing is that I'm birthing or that has been birthed in me? How do I mark that thing? How do I create something that endures, that shows me, that I can point to, that I can remember, that is even ceremonial for me? Maybe it's something that I need to build or create that acknowledges the loss, what is taken from me, what I have let go of. That requires something to be built, created, or ceremonious as well. Remember, these are similarly overwhelming, similarly wrought with change and emotion and all the things that create those feelings in our bellies, right? So that's what I want you to think about in this moment. And I would love to hear, what are you thinking about transitions right now? What are you dealing with right now that makes you feel like you are in one of these spaces? Does this help at all? Like being able to name a thing or to call it out. Are you in a birth situation, a death situation? Have you done this work so that you feel like, yes, this is my transformation moment? Because when you decide you're going to create that, you're going to articulate these things and you're going to create who you want to be, and you're going to build something that acknowledges that marks this moment, and that carries you into this next season, then you're ready to go into transformation. And that is a process. So let me know how this feels to you, whether it makes sense or what questions that you may have. I'm really looking forward to that. But this felt really important to me. I've heard a lot of people talking about it, and I just wanted to share some thoughts that are helpful for me when I'm in a period of extraordinary transition. But let me know, how are you processing this? In the meantime, once again, this is Dr. Helene. Thank you so much for joining me. Please also remember to subscribe and to like this episode if it really resonated with you. All right? I'll see you soon. Hey, creative. Thank you so much for listening in to the Vision Builders podcast. I want to make sure that you don't miss out on our fall writing retreat. The Salt and Solace writing retreat is right around the corner. It's happening this year in October. You will spend 3 days, 2 nights in a beautiful beach house on Hilton Head Island. It's time to revise. It's time to write. It's time to relax. Just either celebrate what you've already done or go ahead and get some more writing done. Wrap it up there or get it started there. Join me at the Salt and Solace writing retreat this fall in Hilton Head Island in South Carolina, October 17th through the 19th. Link is in the comments. I can't wait to see you there. Hey creatives, if you're hearing this, then you've been listening to the Vision Builders podcast with Dr. Helene, your writing life coach. Join me next time to get more insights, tools, and resources to help you get the clarity and direction you need to finish that project and build your vision. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Y'all know how this works. And share. Let somebody else know what you are learning in this podcast. All right. Now, let me know what topics you might want to hear about in future episodes by dropping an idea in the comments. I can't wait to hear, and I definitely love to talk. So, With that, I will sign off. Bye.